Hello. Hopefully the audio is okay. If it's not, please let me know. Okay. Connecting fragments. Do I remember where we're at? No. But that's okay. Let's see. Third year curse. L5. Ooh, wait. Okay, research is going well. Furude-san, thank you for waiting. We just finished the last test. She'll be back soon. I hope she's able to help. Of course. Rika-san will help the whole village. I think we'll be able to come up with a treatment soon. We're still looking into the structure, but we're finding out how important Rika-san is to the villagers. People with more serious conditions can't stabilize themselves, but we found out that if they get close to the queen carrier, they generate some kind of substance in their brain. This substance has a calming effect, and it seems to have the power to bring their symptoms down. If we can produce this substance, it'll end up making for a powerful treatment. I see. Rika has that kind of power. Yippee! Hi, Kimono, how are you? You shouldn't be surprised. People say that maidens of the Furude Shrine have the psychic power to calm both souls and demons, don't they? Even before we discovered it, it was already recorded in the history of the last few hundred years. That's true. I'm impressed with how wise people were back then. Beep. The tests are all done. Having dinner with Grandma Kimono soon. Got a lurk. Stream. Oh, okay. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for the lurk. I hope you have a good dinner. Enjoy your time with Grandma Kimono. Rika, good work. You must be getting tired. Why don't you take this and go get something to drink? Beep. They took a lot of my blood, so I need to replenish. Rika took the 100 yen coin that was offered to her and ran out into the hallway. I appreciate Rika-san's help. If she hadn't offered her assistance, our research wouldn't have progressed this far. Rika's very concerned about her friend with the syndrome. She said she wants to help because of her. Doctor, please take Rika's feelings into account. Of course. We're taking up her precious time every Sunday, so we'll make sure to get to the bottom of this. We may have to put her through some rather rough experiments, but I hope you'll understand. That is crazy! We'll never harm her in any way, though. She's such an important person. She's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, after all. Wonder how people back then found out about this syndrome. And how they knew the Furude family were the descendants of the queen. I'm truly impressed. By the way, there's something I have to ask you. I would like to ask you for permission to collect her cerebrospinal fluid. Also, there's a chance that we'll have to drill a hole in her skull to examine the inside of her head. A hole in her skull? Of course, we'll take every precaution. Rika-san is the one and only queen carrier. We'll make sure that she's safe. Her safety is our priority. Of course, since Rika-chan is a girl, we won't shave her entire head. However, we'll have to ask her to stay at the clinic a little longer so we can keep our eyes on her. She can still receive visitors, of course. You're more than welcome to attend the examination. I'm sure she'll feel more relaxed to have someone she knows nearby. Do you really need to perform this examination? Is it really safe? Can't absolutely guarantee her safety for either collecting cerebrospinal fluid or for drilling a hole in her skull. There's always the off chance something might go wrong. Also, Rika-san may suffer from some physical and emotional discomfort. Even if it's this important, we can't perform it without the parents' consent. Actually, I've already talked to Rika-chan about it. What did she say? She said that it's fine. I've explained to her the possibility of danger, but we still need your consent. Sometimes, Rika truly believes that she's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, so maybe she feels obligated to sacrifice herself for the villagers. What an impressive child. Could you please let me talk to my wife? She understands the situation, but I still need to explain it to her. Sure, of course. Please talk it over with her. So this examination is an extremely important step in the process of stamping out the syndrome, right? Yes, it'll solve the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome for sure. At least it'll be the first step. As I already explained, if something happens to the queen carrier, the whole community here may be in danger. In other words, it's possible the whole village could end up with terminal symptoms.
That's right. According to the studies, within 48 hours of the death of the queen carrier, everyone with the disease will become dangerously sick. We must prevent that from happening no matter what.
If something happens to Rika, the whole village will go insane. Yes, it is our job to prevent that. It might seem ironic that we have to put your daughter in danger, but it's the only way to stamp out the syndrome. Dr. Irie, I hope you'll succeed in that examination.
As I said, there are no guarantees in medicine.
Sure, Irie answered with a nod, interrupting Takano's vague response. I will succeed. I'll save Rika-san, and the villagers too. I promise. Okay. I'll talk to my wife. Let you know our decision. Yes. Thank you. After Rika and her father left, Takano started to laugh. What is it? What's so funny?
Oh, nothing. I just thought it was amusing to get permission from both the patient and her parents beforehand. Rika-chan is going through something she doesn't have to. I thought I should as a courtesy.
Oh, Rika-san is going through something she doesn't have to. I thought I should as a courtesy. I would have gotten consent from the man last year had he been in a normal condition.
Are you being tormented with guilt ever since you started your research here?
What do you mean? This type of teasing was normal from Takano, but maybe she had gone a little too far. Irie made it clear how displeased he was to hear that.
You can only research Hinamizawa syndrome by using living beings. You feel guilty continuing your work because of that.
Those guilty feelings are a necessity. Whether it's a murder or a dissection, the fact that you're taking someone's life is the same. We have to accept that, and at the same time devote ourselves to our research.
That's an extremely impressive theory you have there. Then, Dr. Irie, how many times have you gotten consent before you cut into people's brains?
Irie didn't think Takano knew about that.
How many brains have you cut up without consent, using your selfish theory that people commit crimes due to mental disorders as your excuse?
That is...
Common sense changes with time. Back then, doctors didn't need to explain anything or get consent beforehand. So I don't think you have to be concerned about the past. It'd be a problem now, but it was okay back then. So that's fine. But you feel guilty, and that's why you want to get consent from Rika-chan beforehand, and why you wanted to get it from him, right?
That's not true. In the first place, the treatment and dissection are...
Listen, boy. What you want is the stamp of forgiveness known as prior consent, right? What you want is some stamp of forgiveness, some deception to fill your heart so that you can atone for your past sins. If you regretted what you've done, then you'd never get involved with brains again. Yet you're dragging regrets behind you as you continue to deal with brains, guilty all the while. If you truly acknowledge your actions as a sin, then you would have refused to accept the appointment as director. Isn't that right, boy?
I don't need to listen to this. Excuse me.
You must listen. The field of medicine is constantly won in battles against that era's ethics and social values. When Dr. Takano discovered the existence of the syndrome, the people in power at the time just disregarded their own ignorance and scoffed at his foresight. But he didn't stop researching until he collapsed. He believed that someday he'd be acknowledged. Even if it was after he died, he still believed in it. He could do that only because of how strong his conviction was. If it wasn't for that, he would have given up. A strong will is what keeps research going. Only the most determined can achieve a result. But you don't have that. You're a coward who still can't decide if he should be proud or ashamed of his achievements. How could you accept the position of director with such half-hearted determination? You knew from the beginning that this research couldn't be brought to fruition without adding further blood to your already stained hands.
Don't know what to say. Maybe I am half-hearted.
Then why don't you resign? You still have the obligation to keep things secret, but at least you won't feel guilty anymore. You may be my partner, but you're also simply a person who was requested by my client. Now that this research institute is fully developed, you aren't needed. If you don't even have the necessary determination to do research to begin with, you're an especially useless partner. I'll never quit researching. I'm not afraid of guilt or regret. My conviction is what will take me to the future. Just like Dr. Takano succeeded, I'll succeed alone.
That's impressive. However, though my determination may not come close to yours, I too have a will, and that's why I'm here. As you said, I already have blood on my hands. After I arrived in Hinamizawa, they got even bloodier. So I can't just run from my responsibilities. I'll probably continue to be tormented by my unatoned sins. But I won't run. I'll get to the bottom of Hinamizawa syndrome. That's the least I can do for all the people who gave their lives for this research, and also for those who will give their lives from now on.
Irie wore a determined look on his face. He appeared different from even a moment before, when he was baffled by Takano having brought up those painful memories. For a short while, Irie's eyes displayed his strong will, and then he turned around.
We'll probably get consent for Rika-chan's examination, so please start preparing for it.
Yes, I understand, Director.
They got their consent the following week.
Dang, okay. Alright then.
Okay, so they have consent for cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. The lights came on in the meeting room as the slideshow ended, and all the auditors began to applaud, praising the Irie Institution's dramatic accomplishments. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting too much from this Hinamizawa syndrome research. I figured that even if there was progress, it would be 3 steps forward and 2 steps back every decade. Oh my, how impressive it is to achieve so much in such a short period of time. This is all thanks to you, Director Irie. Oh no, this is all because of the staff that supported me, and Takano-san too.
Don't be so humble. Director Irie is a genius in the field of neurology. After all, he's also produced greater achievements than any other doctor when it comes to the brain.
That's true. Not many doctors as young as you have nearly as much experience operating on brains. Congratulations, Lieutenant Colonel Irie. Now I can go back to Tokyo with my head held high. I'm honored we gave you something good to take back with you, Tomitake-san. By the way, could you please stop calling me Lieutenant Colonel? I just can't get used to it. I almost prefer Risa-san at this point. I bet you do, huh?
You sure were a huge help. You were the one who secured funding for our research, even when we couldn't produce feasible results. We couldn't have done this without you.
It wasn't any trouble. But really, the results you presented today are just brilliant. Not only have you found the cause of the syndrome, you've also provided a clear path towards future research. We're looking forward to hearing more progress when we come back again next time. I'm sure the Tokyo office will quit bothering us about cutting your budget with these sort of results.
After all, we nearly lost our budget for the canned coffee we provided to you all, didn't we?
Tomitake-kun, make sure you report our progress to Tokyo well enough that they give us enough funding to hold a party. We've been getting nothing but the stick. It's time for the carrot. We'll be the happiest if that carrot comes back in the shape of funding. And with that congenial atmosphere, our routine audit was over. Irie was surrounded and being questioned by National Institute of Infectious Disease workers who had joined the auditors. Takano-san, congratulations. I can't really say this out loud, but all the progress I've seen tonight is thanks to your hard work.
Thank you, Jiro-san. Jiro and I are the only ones here who know that strings were pulled in order to create the Irie Institute. So only Jiro-san can understand what I had to go through. But I've only just risen to the stage for my research. My opponent and I are finally in the same arena, that's all. The critical fight comes after this, and it should be getting even more exciting in the future.
By the way, Manager Nakagawa told me to tell you that he wants you to hold a presentation in Tokyo. Even the alphabet board wants you to come meet with them. I guess they all want to hear this directly from you.
Oh my, isn't having you explain enough?
Nah, I don't think that's what they mean. I bet they want to meet such a pretty researcher in person, maybe.
My, aren't you being silly, Jiro-san?
Excuse me, Major Takano, there's a phone call for you from Tokyo.
Thank you for holding. This is Takano.
Who is this? Hey, how are you doing?
Koizumi-sensei, thank you for taking the time to call me.
You know, I heard you made a significant breakthrough, Mio-chan, so I had to call to congratulate you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thanks to your support, we've been able to accomplish the first step of identifying the microbe that causes Hinamizawa syndrome.
I see. Great job, Mio-chan. I'm sure Takano-kun is very happy in heaven right now.
That's a little too early to say. My grandfather was attempting to go beyond merely identifying the cause of the syndrome. His work was about showing the possibility of human thoughts actually being controlled by parasitic agents in our bodies. Only when that is proven will his research be recognized for the great achievement it is. When we're able to explain all thoughts and religions with parasites, the world is going to be tossed into chaos.
How interesting. I can just imagine how those religious bigshots will react once they find out their leaders are parasites. How interesting. I would love to see that. I won't die until you show that to me, Mio-chan.
Please don't say that. Do look forward to it, though. I'll make sure that this research will spread shock throughout the world. Then the whole world will finally realize how great my grandfather was, and they'll be fighting each other to read over the documents he left behind. Only then can I say that I've repaid my debt to him.
I'm a little envious of Takano-kun. I don't want money, you know. I don't mind getting rid of half of what I have. I just wish I had a grandchild who would carry on my legacy.
Thank you so much. Those words mean so much to me.
By the way, I sent you a present. It's a nice bottle of wine for you to celebrate with. I didn't know your address, so I sent it to the clinic. However, they told me they're having a difficult time importing it, so it may take a little while. But when it comes, please have a party with the people who helped you.
Celebratory wine? Well then, I wonder what expensive sort of drink Koizumi-sensei will be sending us.
Oh, it's not that kind of expensive. Don't you remember, Mio-chan? Takano-kun used to keep a particular bottle of wine.
I remember. That's right. My grandfather kept a certain bottle of wine. I don't know if he bought it himself or if someone gave it to him, but he treasured it. And he always said he'd open it when his research finally gained recognition. I was a child then, so I don't even remember what brand it was, but Mr. Koizumi would know. We went through all that trouble to find the same bottle of wine for this special occasion. For the first time in a while, Takano felt the same sunny warmth she experienced during her time with her grandfather. Thank you very much, Uncle Koizumi.
I like it when you call me that, Mio-chan. I don't feel like you're speaking to me when you say Koizumi-sensei.
I can't help but smile along with him, because I think Tomitake and Irie were just having a similar exchange. If you'd like it that way, then I'll be happy to call you that when there's nobody around.
I'd be happier if you could call me that even in front of people.
Don't know exactly how old he is, but if he can laugh so energetically, he'll live for many more years to come. I guess the saying about living a long life is true after all.
Takano-kun and I both wished you were truly part of our family. We really did.
My grandfather had his own family, of course. But because he was so into his research, he became estranged from his wife. They were legally married, but they lived separately. I never met his family when I was a child. I only met them after my grandfather committed suicide. During his latter years, my grandfather went into psychological despair and began to look at his life with cynicism. His condition became worse over time, and he was shocked at his own dementia. He was afraid living while his consciousness degraded. Afraid of living well. So, he jumped off the rooftop of the hospital. Only my name was in his suicide note. None of his family members' names were in it. That's when all of his relatives showed up and took everything my grandfather left behind. They were afraid that I was going to get his estate. They had lawyers and all that, so I backed down. I asked for everything in his study in return. Those idiots don't understand the value of my grandfather's research. They were actually happy to strike a deal out of court, and they could also get rid of the piles of papers and jars with human organs in them. They never even showed up once when he was alive. Yet, like hyenas, they appeared after his death. I'd never let them put their hands all over my grandfather's research. Fortunately, I was able to protect my grandfather's soul from their tainted hands.
Okay, I'll get going here. If there's anything else you need, be sure to call Uncle Koizumi, okay? I'll do anything for my granddaughter.
Thank you, Uncle Koizumi. I'll work even harder.
Okay, so that must be his death. Dang, okay. I didn't know they were gonna do that. That's crazy. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but like, I don't want to say that it makes sense because it's so messed up. What do you mean? Heal it? Okay. Oh, Koizumi. Wait, I'm stupid. It doesn't say death of Takano. I'm stupid. Okay, in that case, what can I do? Detailed test result. I assume, okay, surely Satoko was tested on because, Rika's dad knew. Hospitalization of Satoko. Yeah, okay. Figure as much. To this? No? What are we doing? Was Satoko hospital? Was she? I don't think so. Oh, I guess she was. Okay. Satoshi-kun is a good brother who takes great care of his sister. He went to visit Satoko-chan straight after school and kept encouraging her to get better every day. Without even hearing Satoshi-kun's stories, it's obvious to me that Satoko-chan never had a good relationship with her step-parents. She especially didn't get along with her stepfather. Satoko-chan even called a child abuse hotline once. Not only that, her parents ended up dying in an accident, so she just wasn't able to withstand all that damage. Satoko-chan is still very young, so everything must have been horrible for her to go through. Fortunately, she has a wonderful brother. Emotional wounds are hard to heal. But nothing heals those wounds better than the love from family members. I'm sure that one day, Satoko-chan will be able to smile again. She's still in shock, but when she talks to Satoshi-kun, she smiles a little bit. Oishi from the police department keeps requesting to see her, but I think I need to protect her for just a little longer. While he's passionate about his job, I wish he'd be a touch more sensitive. If he reminds her of her parents' accident, her emotional wounds will start to open again. That's the one point I worry about with Satoko-chan. I heard someone knocking on the door. It was Takano-san. It doesn't look right, wearing a nurse's uniform like that. She's a licensed doctor, so she should wear a white coat and act like one. Maybe this is fun for her, but I think she might be insulting the real nurses. I didn't say anything, though.
Dr. Irie, may I talk to you?
Oh, yes. Well, Satoshi-kun, if you'll excuse me. Sure.
Hello, Satoshi-kun. Please keep Satoko-chan company. She's always alone, so I bet she's lonely. Okay?
Oh, no! That's not true!
Okay, Satoshi-kun, you're in charge. I got up and let Satoshi-kun take over. Did something happen?
Not right here. Let's go to your office.
Takano-san smiled meaningfully. Usually, smiles bring happy feelings. But when it comes to Takano-san, that's rarely the case. Are you sure?
Yes. The initial test results show that there's a possibility she's at L3 or above. We need to keep her here and run some more tests. The results aren't in yet, but from what I can see, it's very possible that she's at L4.
Takano-san's eyes sparkled in a weird way. There's a reason for that. For us, finding patients in the terminal stage is a valuable boon to our research. In fact, as a result of dissecting the murder suspect from last year, we've made great progress in our research. In other words, we finally managed to isolate the pathogen. We also discovered that when the host dies, the pathogen melts away within a few hours. Once that happens, it's undetectable. That's why we never found the pathogen when we performed autopsies. Our research made a lot of progress after that. What we found in this past year has easily surpassed what the late Dr. Takano found in decades. We're now studying the nature, the effect, and the symptoms of the pathogen, as well as treatments and vaccines. In other words, a living specimen who's at the terminal stage is a necessity for our research. However, we rarely find a patient who's gone that far, who's reached L5. Hinamizawa syndrome once created huge numbers of L5 patients, but today it doesn't have such potency. Because of that, we have to secure L5 patients, or patients who are close to reaching L5 as quickly as possible. Satoko-chan possibly qualifies to be that next sacrifice. To keep this strange disease a secret, we can't let patients who may be at L5 go. We have to run more tests first, then we'll figure out what to do next. In any case, Satoko-chan seems so calm. Her behavior is nothing like the man from last year. Initial tests are in error sometimes. We'll have to wait for the results of more detailed tests to determine how serious her condition is.
Hey.
Let's admit her for observation. Please let the staff know to get things ready. That sounds like a formal answer, but if the results come back positive, that'll be the green light for her dissection. I don't know Satoko-chan that well, but I've known her brother Satoshi-kun through the baseball team for a long time. How could I dissect the apple of Satoshi-kun's eyes? What's up, homie? Not much, just vibing with the story, except it's kind of messed up. How are you, Draven? Did you enjoy your Halloween? Do anything fun? I can feel scary images flashing in my head for the first time.
Don't worry. Everything is already taken care of.
She smiled as if telling me that the dissection is already being prepared for, too. Is it just her who's smiling? Am I smiling like her, too? Bit tired, just spent time with family and stream. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Hopefully you could get some rest. Take it easy. When I dissected that man last year, I did feel guilt beforehand. But once I started, it was like I was in paradise. All the pieces of the puzzle that were left by the late Dr. Takano fell into place, and at the same time they didn't. How exciting it was. Knowing that we're the first ones to take the first steps to solve a mystery, that is. I don't even know how to explain this feeling to those who have never experienced it. There's no way to describe it with words. The only thing I can say is that even a year later, I still remember it vividly. So if the results show that Satoshi-kun's beloved sister is to be dissected, can I control myself? Can I stay calm? But that means I'm a failure of a human being. I know very well that the Hojo family was treated poorly by the villagers, and I know what Satoko-chan had to go through. Also, I know Satoshi-kun loves his sister, who's his one and only blood relative. How can I dissect Satoko-chan using my research as an excuse? I didn't feel much guilt for the man from last year, but I feel unbearable guilt towards Satoko-chan. That means what I did last year was very sinful. I don't care if a stranger dies, but I don't want Satoko-chan to die. That's not right. All lives are equally precious. I tried to convince myself that he was a violent murderer, but maybe he only became that way because he was at his terminal stage. I don't know anything about him before he became deranged. Maybe he was a model citizen who was worthy of respect. Unfortunately, he became ill and ended up doing what he did. He was a victim himself. Just like my father. I know more about Hinamizawa syndrome than anybody. This disease makes people act in bizarre ways, without those people realizing it. So when the people at the terminal stage do such strange and violent things, one should be sympathetic. I already knew that back when I decided to go down this path. I should have remembered it sooner, but I only did just now.
I finally realized what sinful research I'm working on. Satoko Hojo's detailed test results came back. The results say L5. She's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage. It's actually a surprising result. In last year's case, the patient was extremely deranged. According to Takano-san's records, he complained about itching coming from the lymph nodes all over his body and wanted to claw at his throat, just as the late Dr. Takano mentioned. But Satoko-chan isn't displaying such symptoms. Even in the late Takano's data, throat clawing is said to be a characteristic symptom of terminal stage patients. However, not all patients experience that symptom. Besides, emotional expression is very different in each person. Even if it's the same emotion, one patient may express it rather violently and another may express it calmly. There's no way of knowing just by looking at a person. But Satoko-chan's detailed test results say that she's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage, L5. In other words, she may be feeling what the man from last year was feeling. It's just that she isn't expressing that feeling in the same way as the man was. Hinamizawa syndrome affects the frontal lobes of the brain. It stimulates the most primitive of emotions, doubt, very strongly. As a result, terminal patients are trapped in delusions and paranoia, and end up committing horrible crimes. Satoko-chan seems to show improvement when she's exchanging friendly words with Satoshi-kun. There's a paranoia stirring inside her that may put her in a deranged state at any moment. I can't let her leave the clinic like this. However, if things go according to the manual, I'll have to make a decision on her dissection. My decision will only be a formality. I can't actually refuse. Takano-san appears to be already working on the dissection schedule. That plan will then come to me. Would I feel the same way while dissecting Satoko-chan? Would I be able to experience that trance once again? No. The question is, can I fight the temptation? As I pretend to question myself, I'm letting Takano-san prepare things on her own. By doing so, am I passively agreeing to Satoko-chan's dissection? If possible, I want to save Satoko-chan. I don't want her to be a sacrifice for this research. I don't want to dissect her. Then, what about the man from last year? Do I only care about the lives of the people I know? If I don't dissect her, do I let her live and leave the clinic? Do I simply wait for her to become deranged and commit a horrible crime? And then she'll end up here, just like the man from last year, and I'll end up dissecting her anyway. The man from last year was dissected alive, and kept that way for several months. With his skull left open, he wasn't allowed to die for several months. He was kept alive just for our cruel experiments. I don't want to do that to her. I don't know what to do. Even debating and agonizing over it is leading towards consent to her dissection by elimination. That's so messed up. That's crazy. I don't really like Satoko, but geez, I don't know if she deserves that. Absolutely insane that he's even just like, oh yeah, I shouldn't, but Ooh, okay, decision. But do we have a decision? I don't know if we have a decision. I guess we can see. Oh, I guess we do. Okay. Plans for Satoko-chan's dissection are moving right along. I don't want Satoshi-kun to be sad. I feel pity for Satoko-chan in her harsh circumstances. I'm still struggling with how much I have to sacrifice for the sake of research.
Yeah?
Sorry. What is it, Rika-chan?
One of my friends has been in the clinic for a long time. Do you think she has Hinamizawa syndrome?
Who told you that?
No one. I just thought about it. So what do you think, Irie? Does Satoko have Hinamizawa syndrome?
Rika-chan is on our side. There's nothing I have to hide from her. Actually, I probably shouldn't keep anything from her. Yes, the problems with her parents, and then their sudden deaths. It was all too much for her to bear. Maybe that was what triggered it.
What did the test results say?
L5. She seems perfectly fine on the surface, but her emotions are extremely unstable. Since the other day, she's been even refusing to meet with Satoshi-kun.
Satoshi told me. He's worried that it's taking a very long time for Satoko to get better. Irie, what'll happen to Satoko?
Satoko-chan is Rika-chan's best friend. How can I tell her that we're planning to dissect Satoko-chan? However, even if I don't say anything, she already knows that Satoko-chan's situation is extremely poor.
Didn't you find out a lot of things when you examined me?
Sure, of course. We're even testing medicine which might be able to control the symptoms.
Can't you give that medicine to Satoko?
I thought about it, but it's too dangerous. We're still in the trial stages, so we're trying to gather more data. We can't use it on someone who's in a delicate situation like Satoko-chan.
Then, if you won't try that medicine, what'll happen to Satoko?
She spoke as if aware of our plans for Satoko-chan. No, she must actually know. I've told her about most of my research. She's more mature than she looks, so it'd be easy for her to figure out.
If there's even a 1% chance of Satoko getting better, then I think we should take that chance.
It's extremely risky. Worst case, she could immediately display terminal symptoms and hallucinate, or potentially lose her consciousness and spend the rest of her life just staring blankly at a wall. Either one would be too cruel a fate for her.
So are you saying it's better to have her die in her sleep? Irie, just like Takano says, there are no guarantees in medicine. But if we don't do anything, Satoko will die for sure. I think it's clear what we should do.
That's true. You're right. I know too well. C-103, the medicine that's being tested, may not even be something that can be used. It may not even have a 1% chance of success. Worse, I can't even imagine what kind of tragic end she'd meet if her body rejects the medicine. That's why I'm tempted to believe it would be far more merciful to feed her her favorite food, let her gently fall asleep, and after that, dissect her while she dreams. I don't want to admit it, but Takano-san is right. I'm being indecisive and showing a lack of resolve. How effective could the medicine made by someone like that really be? So because it was a medicine I created myself, I couldn't even believe there might be a 0.1% chance of success.
I think we can believe in it.
She spoke as if she read my mind. Surprised, I raised my head to look up at her, and found her giving me a reassuring look that I never would have imagined someone her age capable of.
People's lives depend on your job. It's almost absurd that a human being can control life and death like that. I can't even imagine the pressure.
Her voice hadn't changed, but I feel like Rika-chan is admonishing me, almost as if she knows what it's like to be responsible for human lives.
Guilt and regret are a part of that. That's why you can't use the medicine on Satoko. Isn't that right?
Takano-san said the same thing when she criticized me earlier. I'm being criticized again.
But that's why I can trust you with Satoko.
What?
Human lives are precious. You understand that very well, and that's why you do what you do. Without knowing that, how could you heal people? Do you think I'd trust medicine created by Takano, who thinks humans are just her guinea pigs? Hee hee hee.
I shouldn't have laughed, but I couldn't help it. I felt like I should laugh.
If both you and Takano each produce different medicine, I think yours would be the one to cure her, because your medicine came from your heart. Your will to heal people is what cures them.
You're absolutely right. I can't believe you're admonishing me about the medicine.
I let you use my body for Satoko. Everything you took out from me is for her. If you created that medicine with the knowledge of how precious human lives are, then of course it'll work on Satoko.
Do shrine maidens take confessions? If they do, she's doing a great job of being a shrine maiden at this age. This will be a gamble. The question is whether Satoko-chan will accept it.
You don't need to tell her. Learning of the Hinamizawa syndrome will only dredge up the deep scar on her heart again.
What did she mean by those words? When I realized it later, I was surprised by how thoughtful and perceptive she was. Let's stop the plans for the dissection. We're going to give Satoko Hojo C-103. I'll do my best to increase the chance by even 1%.
Don't worry, Irie. It'll work.
You shouldn't be so optimistic.
I know it'll work. It's already decided. That's a very reassuring prophecy from the Furude Shrine's Shrine Maiden. Go for it. Yay!
Okay. Discontinuation, motive to become okay. Let's go. We are schmovin' now. C-103's implementation on Satoko is going well so far. It wouldn't make any difference to me if the experiment failed. However, Irie's extraordinary focus and attention to the experiment has avoided Satoko Hojo hallucinating or turning into a vegetable during the experiment. And surprisingly, we see prospects of her returning to normal life despite reaching L5. C-103 still has many issues, but this experiment proved that even a person who has reached L5 can be cured. I didn't believe in it at first, but I guess I have to acknowledge Irie's hard work now. Only Irie could have done this. He was tormented by naive humanism and didn't want to make mistakes, and that's why he felt obligated to cure Satoko Hojo. The reason why I dislike Irie isn't because of his achievements or abilities, but because of that weakness. But this time, I had to praise him for it. I saw your report. I must tip my hat to you. No, I only did my job as a researcher. If that means fulfilling my duty as a doctor as well, then nothing could please me more. It's hardly an exaggeration to say that Satoko is now our most valuable specimen. After all, she's the first human to reach L5 and live. That's true. We'll let her go back to her life and keep our eyes on her. I'm going to tell her to come here every Sunday for a checkup. But how are you going to explain to her that she has to give herself a C-103 shot 3 times a day, and also that she has to come here every Sunday? She has no subjective symptoms. Still trying to come up with a good excuse. I think I'll tell her that I want her to help me with my research. She has to give herself shots daily and to come here every Sunday for a checkup. I'll pay her for helping me, or something like that. I guess Irie is determined to cure Satoko Hojo no matter what. He seems determined to keep her off the dissection table. He and I are in different positions, but I don't have any complaints about his naive ideals so long as they translate directly into passion for our research. If his plans can be put into effect and produce a different result than the dissection would, then they'll still be useful to the overall understanding of Hinamizawa syndrome. I have nothing against Satoko Hojo. It's only that I see her as a research specimen. If she could be useful in that capacity without being dissected, that's perfectly fine with me. We have to get permission from her guardian to give her shots 3 times a day. After her parents died, her aunt and uncle have been taking care of her, right? Maybe I'll go talk to them. I hope they agree to her involvement in such suspicious research. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure they'll be happy to once they realize they'll be receiving 100,000 to 200,000 yen every month for it. Do we have enough money? Sure, as long as we can produce documents that'll convince Jiro-san. Okay then, I'll work on that. Also, we'll need to take action to prevent stressing Satoko-chan. We don't want her to return to L5. I hear her aunt and uncle are very mercenary. Perhaps we can handle them with cash. I plan to provide my help with their guidance too. I've heard that Satoko-chan isn't getting along well with her aunt and uncle. I never thought that would affect us in any way, but now Irie has to deal with them too. Maybe he's developed some kind of sense of responsibility or duty as her guardian. I don't really care. The more responsible he feels, the more progress our research makes. That'll be a plus for me. By the way, I saw the report on H-170. Oh, compared to your success, it's nothing, but I guess it was some kind of accomplishment. It's honestly ironic. This same research center that's produced the remedy to save her from derangement has developed a dangerous drug that could instantly induce it. Irie wasn't involved in the H-170 research. That was my work. In fact, even if I asked him, he wouldn't have agreed to be involved. This dangerous reagent was developed during the process of uncovering the mechanisms behind how the pathogens controlling Satoko Hojo's brain could induce derangement or paranoia in their host. To put it bluntly, injecting H-170 into a patient with Hinamizawa syndrome forced them to express terminal symptoms.
It threw the brain into a stimulated state of agitation, intentionally forcing the pathogen to grow unstable. If we continue researching this, it would be possible to drive anyone with Hinamizawa syndrome violently insane at any time. Studying the mechanism behind that will help to solve the syndrome's mysteries. So this study on H170 will be extremely important to future research. Also, this medicine has military applications as the client requested. At this point, there is absolutely no use for it. But once our research progresses a bit further, this H170 could be spread at the right moment to cause a certain type of reaction. Compared to a killer virus, it seems like a useless pathogen. But there's no way to detect it in a dead body, and it makes it look as though the person just went insane spontaneously, so it must have some useful applications. The Marco Polo Bridge incident threatened to end research on Hinamizawa syndrome before. A historically important incident like that couldn't have been created by a killer virus. But it's possible with Hinamizawa syndrome. The Elders of the Alphabet Project, the sponsor for our research, can think whatever they want about that. I don't care how they use what I've learned. My purpose is to solve the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome and to make people realize how important this research is. Also, to make people acknowledge my grandfather's accomplishments and achievements. Any military applications were just byproducts of the process that I didn't care about.
The clients will appreciate your accomplishment. Maybe our budget will increase for the next term.
Passion alone can't keep research going. We need money.
Must thank the sponsor for giving us so much funding. For this much money to come from public expenses.
Maybe Japan is richer than I thought. They're public expenses, but they're expenses that can't be made public.
Irie has no idea what I had to go through to get that money. Anyway, our research is going extremely well. We don't know what we'll find out about Hinamizawa syndrome, but I'm sure every mystery will eventually be solved. I can hardly wait. What the syndrome indicates is that humans are simply empty containers, and that what we believe to be our will is simply the actions of parasites that live in our brains. If that mystery is solved, it would have a greater impact than anything else in history. That is a truth which nobody wants to believe. This is an achievement my grandfather predicted back during his time. Ah, I know now. I know the reason why my grandfather was so fascinated by his work.
Okay then. Alright. We're keeping her alive. Good stuff.
Was that the red capsule? No, we haven't got that yet. Okay. Okay. Shirakawa Park incident. We have not done that yet. Maybe this?
Aha! Satoko-chan's dissection plan has been scrubbed, and we're getting ready to administer an almost totally untested medicine, C-103. This experimental medicine suppresses the production of a certain type of hormone, and in doing so, it will stop the transmission of the syndrome triggering Satoko-chan's condition. The mechanism of Hinamizawa syndrome is as follows. The pathogen takes over the frontal lobe of the patient's brain, and then induces increased responsiveness to paranoia. As a result, a patient voluntarily carries out excessively defensive behaviors to a problematic extent. If this induction can be cut off, then it'll be possible to save terminal patients from becoming deranged. But it only cuts off an induction, so it's not really a cure. Ironically, the brain is an organ that learns. Once the brain has learned to be excessively paranoid due to the Hinamizawa syndrome, even after the pathogen is eliminated, the brain doesn't simply unlearn that paranoia. In short, even if the pathogen doesn't induce derangement, the patient will be directed to such emotions of their own volition. Thus, it is impossible to completely escape the nearly deranged L5 state. The proverb, "a burnt child dreads the fire," is a good example of this. Even after the burn on your tongue heals, the fear of being burned by food again remains. When it ends up being a good thing, we call it learning a lesson, and we call it trauma when it doesn't. We predict Satoko-chan's treatment will take us a significantly long time, requiring both medication, such as administering psychotropics, and mental care, like counseling. We have to slowly unravel her mind's solidified paranoia, while also suppressing the syndrome's induction of derangement. This is the treatment plan for terminal patients like Satoko-chan. However, as we're going to stimulate the parts of her brain that affect her emotions while they're being stimulated by the pathogen at the same time, it's possible that there could be unexpected side effects.
Both her mental and physical strength hold the key to our success. We were going to begin the experiment once she regains her emotional stability and physical strength, but someone who threatens to disturb her emotional stability has been coming here every day. Oishi, the sly old detective from the Okinomiya Police Department. He thinks everything, from the dam protest to the dismemberment murder of the construction manager, is an organized effort secretly conducted by the three families of the village. He even thinks the accident involving Satoko-chan's parents wasn't an accident. That's why he keeps coming back, so we can talk to Satoko-chan. No matter how many times you come, I won't let you see her. She's still crippled by the shock of her parents' deaths. Can't you understand what she's been going through? I understand. I only need a few minutes with her, really. It won't take long at all. If you want me to get a warrant, I will, but that's pretty serious, you know. I'm being considerate of Hojo-san, and that's why I haven't gotten a warrant. What are you trying to ask her anyway? I don't really understand. Well, actually, it's possible that the fall was not an accident. I know the Hojo couple were hated by the whole village after the business with the dam, but who would actually follow them on their trip and push them off? Don't you think that's absurd? Well, we could call it an accident, but if that was the case, there are some things which just don't make sense. Why lie? With those lies, I don't think it was an accident. What lies? Well, Satoko Hojo-san said she was asleep in the car at the time of the accident. I think that story sounds a little off, doesn't it? Satoko-chan claimed she was asleep in the back seat when the accident took place, so she didn't get out of the car at the viewing platform. When she woke up, she didn't see her parents. Then she found out they had fallen off the cliff. Where's the lie exactly? You aren't saying that Satoko-chan wasn't really asleep and she went over to the viewing platform with her parents, are you? That's right. Satoko Hojo-san was never asleep. She got out of the car with her parents and went to the viewing platform. Suddenly hit by a terrible possibility. If what Oishi says is true, and Satoko-chan is saying she didn't go to the viewing platform even though she actually did, it's terrible to even imagine. Why are you saying such a thing? Besides, why would Satoko-chan lie? That's just it. Why would Satoko Hojo-san lie? That's why I need to talk to her. Otherwise, this won't end as just a simple accident. Why are you convinced that Satoko-chan is lying? This accident took place in a different jurisdiction. The guys from the Shirakawa station conducted the interviews with the parties involved. There are things that bother me in their report. Bother you? Like what? According to Satoko Hojo-san's statement, her parents asked her to come with them to the viewing platform, but she was sleepy, so she didn't get out of the car. Then she fell asleep and woke up after a while. She became concerned because her parents hadn't come back and started to cry. One of the park workers on patrol noticed her crying and talked to her, and that's how the accident was discovered. And at that time, guess what? According to the park worker's testimony, she was the first one who said her parents had fallen off the cliff. But you see, it's hard to see the accident site in question from where the car was parked. If you look very carefully, you might be able to notice the broken fence. But still, you know, I think it's odd to say that your parents had fallen off a cliff just because you didn't see them when you woke up. Normally, most people would say something like their parents went for a walk and didn't come back. It just doesn't make sense to me that she told a stranger that her parents had fallen off a cliff without even being at the site of the accident. I want to ask her why she was so certain that her parents had fallen off a cliff. That's why I keep coming back here. I asked her many times before she was admitted here, but all she would say was that she doesn't remember or that she was confused at the time. Sounds like a politician, huh? That's why I think it's worth taking the time to talk to her. That terrifying possibility has turned to certainty in my head. I'd assumed that her parents' accident triggered her terminal symptoms. But no. Satoko-chan had already gone terminal, and just before the accident, her heart was filled with paranoia that drove her mad. She was under a lot of stress because of her bad relationship with her stepfather. She was also being scolded by her mother for not being able to get along with him. If that made her paranoid, made her think that her parents considered her to be a bother and were going to kill her. When they went to the viewing platform, she must have thought they were going to push her off the cliff. Then a tragedy took place, and she pushed her parents off instead, although she considered it to have been in self-defense. I'm certain of that, because
because I know Hinamizawa syndrome better than anybody. This accident isn't an accident. It isn't a crime either, like Oishi is thinking. It's simply a tragedy. When I talked to Satoshi-kun about the family, I was even more convinced. He told me that even though Satoko-chan refused to open up to her stepfather, he had tried to communicate with her. It's true their relationship didn't go well in the beginning. Satoko-chan caused trouble repeatedly and even called the city's child abuse hotline. At that point, they received guidance from the Child Consultation Center, and they pointed out that the problem lay in the lack of communication between daughter and stepfather. So the stepfather took a parenting course under the social worker's guidance, and awkward though it was, he made efforts to communicate with her. Satoshi-kun noticed his efforts, so he tried to talk to Satoko-chan about it. But Satoko-chan didn't notice them at all. The excessive stress she was under triggered terminal symptoms, and she couldn't understand her stepfather's remorse. On the contrary, her stepfather's change created even more mistrust within her. As a result, they went to enjoy the beautiful view of the Shirakawa Nature Park as a family and to share in that joy. Yet that humble, ordinary family's wish couldn't even get through to Satoko-chan. What a tragic misunderstanding. Satoko-chan stayed in the car, telling her parents that she wanted to sleep, but then she got out and snuck up behind them. I bet he heard her footsteps. He pretended not to notice her, thinking that she was doing that to surprise him. It's sad just thinking about what must have ran through his mind. While he thought he'd finally gotten through to her, she was actually approaching him with the intent to kill. But that's not Satoko-chan's true nature. It's the disease. Satoko-chan isn't the only one who is to be pitied. Her parents are its victims too. And now, she thinks she's a criminal. Judgment and punishment are required for crimes with malicious intent. But what she really needs is understanding and sympathy. And no one has that understanding, except for me, because I know about Hinamizawa syndrome. I am the director of the Irie Institute, but I've never behaved as such or exercised that authority. But I'm going to do so for the first time since taking the position. I'm not doing it as the head of the Irie Institute, the secret research organization. I'm doing it as a doctor so I can protect Satoko-chan. It's about the Hojo family's accident at the Shirakawa Nature Park. Do you think you can ask Okonogi-san from the Mountain Dogs to make it out to be an accident?
Sure, of course. That's no problem. The Mountain Dogs are a unit specialized in concealment and manipulation, after all. We have to put an end to it quickly. Otherwise, the police will end up getting closer to finding out about our research.
That's right. Please make especially sure that Oishi-san is drawn away from this case. We're at a delicate stage of the drug administration test. She doesn't need any more unnecessary stress.
You're absolutely right. I'll let the Mountain Dogs know. I've heard they even have connections within the police, so I'll give the order to put pressure on them too. I'm sure the accident in Shirakawa will be concluded as exactly that within a few days.
With that, it was declared an accident. If only it really was one, it would have eased Satoko-chan's soul. Getting rid of the pathogen can't heal that wounded soul, nor can it erase the tragedy that had already taken place. All I can do is my best, so the day she regains her smile comes sooner. Wait, I want to know about... Wait, actually? No, never mind. Because I was going to say, I want to know about the hidden, armory in the forest in the Sonozaki residence. Because they found bodies at the bottom of the well, and I was like, wait, but then the Sonozakis weren't behind it. But then I remembered that's not technically the Sonozaki's place. That was the Mountain Dog's place. So of course they would discard bodies there. Duh. That makes sense. Rika has developed a high fever. A very high fever. It's not flu season, nor a season for any type of contagious disease. I could only think of the suspicious experiments Rika has gone through. Maybe the fever is being caused by those. Her growth is rather slow compared to other children her age, receiving mysterious shots and going through experiments every week.
I'm sure her body is exhausted. I've asked the staff to go easy on her, but Rika herself is fearless and is willing to go through anything. My husband, who should be admonishing her for that, truly believes their story that it's crucial to the lives of over 2,000 villagers and takes our own daughter to that clinic every week. I'm the only one who's sincerely worried about her health. That's why I want to ask Dr. Irie to be a little more considerate towards Rika. Anyway, I have to talk to them about taking responsibility for this. Right after I called, a staff member came to pick Rika up to admit her to the clinic. As her guardian, I came with them.
Please, calm down. We'll make sure she'll be okay, so please wait a while.
How can I calm down? Why did she come down with such a high fever? Isn't this caused by the experiment you performed last week? Rika's just a little girl, you know. She cares about her friend, so she's doing what she can for the sick girl.
I understand. There's no way our research would affect Rika-san negatively. Besides, we're being extremely careful so that something like that won't happen.
Then explain this high fever.
It's probably due to the change in seasons, and...
How could this be a simple cold? This is because of that weird shot you gave her.
Dr. Irie only told me to calm down and refused to accept responsibility.
My husband told me this is all for the sake of the village, and that's why I've held back my doubts until now. But I'm at my limit. Their existence has been suspicious from the beginning. They're conducting their research in secret, using a privacy policy as an excuse. That was shady enough on its own. It's just impossible. In fact, I called the Ministry of Health and was told that that wasn't true at all, even after I told them I'm Rika Furude's mother. The clinic even came up with stupid excuses, saying normal workers often don't know of a special institute like theirs. That doesn't make sense at all. It's much, much too suspicious. Also, there are people who don't appear to be researchers working at the institute. They look like security guards, but they seem so different from normal guards at the normal hospital. In fact, one time, I accidentally saw that they were armed with guns.
That is... well...
Are they policemen? I don't think so. Who are you all anyway? I refuse to believe you're from the Ministry of Health.
Dr. Irie seemed taken aback by my intensity and can't even answer properly. They're still hiding a lot more from us. That tells me the research they're working on with Rika isn't anything proper.
Anyway, I'm Rika's guardian. Rika's still a child. It doesn't matter what she says. I won't let her participate in this research anymore.
My. It's Rika-chan's mother. Hello.
Oh gosh.
Oh, what's the matter? Is everything okay?
Well, Rika-chan's mother says she won't let Rika-chan participate in the research any longer.
Why is that?
Because she's not your guinea pig.
We've never treated her that way. You're misunderstanding us.
I'm a little startled. Dr. Irie is a weak person who backs down under pressure. Takano-san is different. I'm yelling at her, but she's not afraid at all. On the contrary, she's glaring daggers and looks as if she's about to jump on me.
Rika-chan's fever is caused by a cold. We didn't cause it. When it comes to safety and sanitation, we pay the same level of attention as a national research center. I don't mean to be rude, but considering you walk around while holding Rika-chan's hands without disinfecting yours with alcohol first, we are far more sanitary.
We're not talking about that. Anyhow, Rika isn't your toy. She'll never come back here again.
You can't decide that by yourself. You and your husband both signed the statement of consent, didn't you? We've been depositing money that's by no means a small amount into your account every single month for her cooperation in the research.
What? I know nothing about any money. I've never even heard of that before.
Rika receiving money for participating in their research really is news to me. Knowing my husband's character, he wouldn't have used it as spending money behind my back. I bet he thought of it as a free service for the villagers and completely forgot about the money being deposited into our account. There haven't been any strange deposits in the regular account, so it may be in our savings.
Anyway, I don't care about that.
If you want to breach our contract, we'll have to ask you to return the full amounts of deposits we've made up until this point. Also, if one party is at fault for the breach of contract... Takano-san, please calm down. Mrs. Furude, you too. Just as I explained to you before, we must find a cure for Hinamizawa syndrome so the villagers can continue to live without worries. For that reason, we need to have Rika-san continue to participate.
Then tell me, When are you going to find a cure? It doesn't make sense. At first you said this was for Rika's friend, Satoko-chan, but Satoko-chan has been released from the clinic and is now carrying on happily. You even told my husband 2 weeks ago that you've already found a cure, didn't you?
Yes, I think I told him something like that. But you see, to solve the mysteries of the syndrome...
You didn't mention anything about solving mysteries at the beginning. Rika was to participate to find a cure for the villagers. So now her job is done. All the research and experiments you're performing on Rika have nothing to do with the cure. You're doing them out of your own self-interest. Aren't I right?
That's not true. It really isn't. Anyway, this matter of Rika-san's cold is just a misunderstanding. If you still don't trust us, then...
That's enough! Since money's involved here, I'll have to discuss it with my husband. Excuse me. They were just far too shady from the very start. Because of their exaggerated story, Rika and my husband took their side, but it won't work on me. Anyhow, I must settle things with them right away, because Rika isn't their toy. I especially don't trust that woman called Takano. Dr. Irie seems to me like he's still a doctor, but she doesn't. How can I describe her? I guess I can say the glow in her eyes is just unpleasant. She only sees Rika as a guinea pig. I can feel cruelty emitting from her. Neither my husband nor Rika have noticed that. I must protect her. As a mother, I must protect Rika.
It's not like you, Takano-san. Getting into an argument with her will only make things more complicated. It's so unlike you. I know. Sorry for losing my cool. Did something happen to put her in a bad mood? Irie wondered. The heated conversation she'd just had didn't involve the Takano he knew.
Oh my gosh, she's going terminal. Oh lord. It's her and the mom. They're both going terminal. This is spicy.
Hey, well then. Dear opportunist, suspicion. We have suspicion he is an opportunist as well. Okay. The situation has changed. Rika's father suddenly changed his mind about having her help out with the research. When Rika came down with a high fever the other day, her mother, who wasn't happy about her daughter helping in the first place, finally blew up. I was hoping the father would convince her somehow, but now he seems to be on her side. Rika's father didn't get emotional like her mother, but he demanded that we make our research plans for Rika clear, and that we finish our research within 3 months at most, which was completely unrealistic. Research can't have a deadline. That's out of the question. We cultivate results by grinding down our knowledge, skills, and time. To take time away from us is like taking away what is vital to live. How could he say such a thing? Curses, 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 curses. Rika's parents are only saying that because they don't know anything about scientific research. However, as they are parents of the Queen Carrier, we're completely lost about what to do. Tests and experiments on the Queen Carrier are an essential part of our research into Hinamizawa syndrome. Her existence is the focal point of our work. To lose her would be like losing your sense of direction out in open water. Rika is providing her cooperation with our research, but the withdrawal of her guardian's consent could be a setback. The situation is extremely dire. Rika's parents are only interested in finding a cure, but to me, the cure is only a small part of solving the mystery. I can't let her go. Are our differences causing this predicament? And it's not only them. The same is happening between Irie and me. He thinks it's inevitable that we need to stop the research if Rika's parents refuse to consent. That's understandable. From the beginning, Irie has never had the determination to solve the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome. He won't back down from the research assertively, but he will passively by agreeing with Rika's parents. Is that the attitude of a researcher who's trying to unravel mysteries? He's the type of man who would step on my grandfather's research with his dirty feet. He's nothing but a coward who is in this half-heartedly. He started to feel guilty over the past the moment he saw blood. He isn't qualified to even be involved in researching Hinamizawa syndrome. He's simply an outsider who joined in because of the client's demands. If I were a man, he wouldn't be here in the first place. While it's true he produced wonderful results with his development of a cure, he seems to think it's all right to close up shop with that. Is he planning to waste everything by being satisfied with just that tiny result? That man doesn't have any right to discard my grandfather's research. I could feel my guts boiling.
No, no, no. Irie isn't the main person at fault. The one to blame here is that woman, Rika's mother. If she wasn't so selfish, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. Maybe it's partly my fault. I maintained trust through relationships and obligations all this time. But somehow, Rika's mother and I didn't get along, so I didn't try to socialize with her. I thought it was fine because I got along with Rika and her father. But now, the mother has influenced the father and changed his decision. What negligence! What a reversal! What a blunder! Irie is saying we should talk to the office in Tokyo about what to do next. But I know once the Tokyo office finds out about this, they'll order us to shut the research down. I worked so hard to even get things started. If they hear anything negative, they'll put a stop to it. I've come too far to complete my grandfather's research. I can't let it be stopped. Yippee! Hi, Gray, how are you? I still have a little time to think about this. I need to calm down and analyze this carefully. I've always come up with a great plan when I drink my favorite tea and bite my nails like this. I looked up at the ceiling and closed my eyes. As tenderly as possible. There were times when I couldn't find a solution, but someone else came up with a simple one. I've been able to overcome everything that's been thrown at me. I've even endured the hell at the orphanage. So I'll never let that woman get in the way. Settle your thoughts down. Think about this clearly. Be calm, Mio Takano. Someone else may come up with a better idea. But who? It's not me. It can't be Irie. Of course, nobody from the village will do. Enjoying being home and ignoring work, fair enough. I'm doing good. We're getting some tea. I can give you a little rundown after we get through this part. Do I talk to someone in Tokyo? No, I can't. I don't want to owe anyone a favor. Even Koizumi-sensei would be disgusted if he finds out that I can't solve such a simple matter by myself. Ah, I know. There's someone I can talk to nearby. They're supposed to be my subordinates after all, so it's worth a try. I called the leader of the mountain dogs, Okonogi. The mountain dogs are my subordinates, but they're part of the self-defense force and I'm just a researcher. So we never really had the chance to interact. He did what he was supposed to and I did what I was supposed to. So I never even thought of discussing anything with him. But the mountain dogs are there to protect and support our research. Why didn't I think of talking to him before? What a difficult situation. He used to speak standard Japanese, but now he has the Hinamizawa accent. I guess fitting into the region is the first thing they need to do. We may lose the Queen Carrier, and not only that, but her mother might end up exposing our secrets. Can you do something about it? I asked Okonogi rather directly. I'm not really expecting an answer. But... Understood. The mountain dogs will take care of it. Just give us a little time and we'll do a clean job. Take care of it? Make sure the police don't get involved. We'll need a little time to prep. But it won't be that difficult. I'm startled. Rika's mother's my enemy. But I was thinking about how I could convince her. But the leader of the mountain dogs, the counterintelligence unit whose duty is to protect the secret research, came up with a much simpler plan. Do you mean... to kill her? To preserve the secret, I was told to do whatever's necessary. Of course, we won't do anything until we get an order. Right. This is a very simple problem to him. Rika's mother started to interfere with our research. Not only that, there's a chance she might talk to the people about the Institute, so they'll eliminate her. Ah, that sounds like a good idea. Can you do a good job of it? That's why we're here. This'll be our biggest job since the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Ugly man, indeed. Ah, I remember now. Mountain dogs are the ones who kidnapped the grandson of the Minister of Construction and used that to blackmail him. It's been a few years, so I completely forgot about that. They did such a marvelous job back then. That's right, that's right, that's right. I have the mountain dogs on my side. Can you get on with it right away? Easily kill her, even tonight. But that'd create too much of a fuss. We'll make it look like she disappeared. So give us a little time to make some arrangements. Just like a cat's eyes under a bright light, I can feel something in the back of my eyes open up. Up until now, I'd been racking my brain trying to figure out how to make her my ally, or at least make her surrender, or pacify her. Yet, one order to this man and the problem's easily solved. I feel like a bird taking its first flight. Ah, how easily I can get rid of that annoying mother. All I have to do is give an order. I feel grateful to Koizumi-sensei for giving me such terrific subordinates. What a wonderful power he's given me. I was taught that all people are equal. But if I have the power to control people's lives, then that means that I'm more important than they are. What a feeling it is to be above others.
So did you just want Rika Furude's mother to disappear?
Well, wait a minute. Does he mean only Rika Furude's mother? I can feel chills all over my body. If possible, maybe I should have her father disappear too. Rika's willing to help. She has no other relatives in the Furude family. If both parents die, she has to depend on someone. The Irie Institute can support her. We can give her status, money, and protection. We can give her everything. By doing so, maybe it's possible to make her one of us, rather than just having her as a helper. All of my worries are melting away. Everything I was just concerned about seems like a joke now.
She really thinks she is Rika. Real.
I had such powerful subordinates all this time, yet I never realized. All of my tension is being released, and I'm starting to feel relaxed. I can feel myself regaining my cool head. I'm going to get rid of them. Rika's parents, that is. The Queen Carrier is my guinea pig. A guinea pig doesn't need parents. That's right. It's almost time for the Watanagashi festival. If they die on that day, people will call it the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The murder case from 2 years ago and the accident from last year are two separate incidents. Yet because they happened on the day of Watanagashi, they're being called the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Then, if her parents' deaths occur on this year's Watanagashi, it'll be Oyashiro-sama's curse 3 years in a row. The miracle of Oyashiro-sama. Also the curse. I'm going to create them. This is a chance for me to ascend to godhood and toy with human fate. The incidents that occurred 2 years in a row are said to be a curse, but not everyone believes that. However, if it happens 3 years in a row, then everyone has to believe. Because that'll be a true curse that's created by me. I'll become Oyashiro-sama. My desire for revenge against God is coming together. Making her merely disappear isn't that fun, is it? When I started to laugh, Okonogi grinned to show his interest. We're going to create the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I can't just let her die. She'll be demoned away, and I'm going to enjoy dissecting her alive. Of course, I won't just have fun. This'll be extremely useful for our research.
Girl, you are not it. She is not. She's pretending. She's a fake, a fraud.
After all, she's the previous Queen Carrier.
Oh my gosh, she... Yo, when are we gonna dissect Takano? That is crazy. Okay, I think Higurashi we will stop here for today because my voice is not having a good time right now. But we'll swap over to drawing.